This episode of FineScale Modeler's new product rundown features Trumpeter's USS Sangamon, Tamiya's 148 scale Challenger and Tiger, Arma's latest Mustang and Wildcat, and Academy's Little Chinook.
New product rundown brought to you by Hobby Zone USA, your source for hobby storage solutions, hard to find hobby tools, and aftermarket modeling needs.
Welcome to New Product Rundown, FineScale Modeler's monthly look at the newest and the latest and the best kits, tools, and other modeling goodies. I'm Tim Kidwell.
I'm Aaron Skinner, and look, before we get started, we would be remiss not to mention that this is actually the 200th New Product Rundown.
200 of them. We started this back in 2012.
2012, yep.
And it was you and Monica Freitag
Yep.
in front of the camera, and I was behind the camera way back then, 10 years ago, or just about 10 years ago.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we transitioned to you and I on camera, and various other staff members, Elizabeth Nash. We've had Mark Hembry, Mark Savage on camera. at various
We've
points.
had guest hosts.
Guest hosts, yeah.
We've had guest host, Jenny Mosky and
Megan McChain.
McChain. Yeah, Megan McChain has hosted. So, 10 years, 200 episodes of the NPRD, and why?
Because we wanted to show you guys not only the boxes, but what's inside the box, because that's what you really what you really care about when you're getting ready to buy a kit, is what those parts look like.
That's right. So let's get back to the business at hand instead of nostalgia and take a look inside Trumpeter's new 1/350th scale USS Sangamon.
This was the lead ship in a 4-ship class of escort carriers based on converted Cimarron-class oilers.
Sangamon supported the Allied landings in North Africa before transitioning to the Pacific theater.
This is the first injection molded plastic kit of a Sangamon-class carrier, and the hull comes in halves split on the keel. Surface detail includes raised ladders and plumbing, and recessed portholes and the hangar deck louvers. Openings along the sides open onto what appears to be the deck of the oiler the Sangamon was converted from. Braces hold the hull together, and bulkheads on the oiler deck support the hangar deck and the flight deck with molded planks and separate elevators.
The rudder and screws finish the hull. The carrier's tiny island builds from a few plastic parts. Most of the other parts are walkways along the flight deck, gun tubs, and the anti-aircraft guns to fill them, as well as antennas, structural supports, and smokestacks. A stand is provided.
The air wing includes 4 Dauntlesses, 4 Avengers, and 8 Wildcats. All have optional parts to pose the wings folded.
The photo-etched metal supplies railings, structural supports, gun shields, and some walls. Decals and color diagrams provide hull numbers, deck markings and stripes, flags, and early war insignia for the aircraft.
Given the scale and type of ship, Trumpeter's Sangamon appears to have a relatively low parts count and should be a straightforward build.
Next up, we have Tamiya's brand new 148 scale Challenger 2.
So this British main battle tank has been part of Tamiya's 135th scale catalog since 2004.
The hull's belly plate includes molded road wheel arms and part of the nose reactive armor. As with most Tamiya 148 scale armor kits, a metal plate is supplied to give the finished model a little heft.
No lower hull sides are included beyond the rear plate, and adjoining sections with the final drive housings. Instead, once the road wheels, idlers, and drive sprockets are mounted, 2 internal brackets fitted to the hull support the beautifully molded upper hull and provide a starting point for the link and length tracks. The latter do not form complete runs, but that omission and the absent hull sides will be hidden by the Challenger's ERA sides that are molded with the sand skirts that extend almost to the ground.
The turret builds from upper and lower halves, sides with the combat information panels molded in place, and a rear plate with separate CIPs. The main gun is mostly one part with separate muzzle. It mounts to a multi-part mantlet with integrated optics. While the loader's hatch is molded closed, the commander's hatch is posable, and a figure is provided to fill it. Other details include fuel tanks for the rear, loader's machine gun, and smoke dischargers.
Decals give markings for a single Royal Scots Dragoon Guards Challenger 2 in Iraq in 2003. This is a good-looking kit of the Challenger 2 that should make those who are interested in building smaller scale armor happy.
And showing that Tamiya is still dedicated to 1/48 scale, it's releasing an updated version of its 1/48 scale early production Tiger 1. Now it comes with an all-plastic hull in place of the die-cast metal one in the original early Tiger. Metal bars give the tank heft.
The decals give markings for 2 German tanks in the Soviet Union in 1943. One overall gray is seen in the original kit, and an all-new multicolored camouflage version.
We hear from modelers all the time that they enjoy building Tamiya's 1/48 scale armor, and I'm sure these will be no different.
Arma Hobby of Poland continues to delight modelers with its 1/72nd scale aircraft. Let's take a look at a couple of new versions of kits that have been out for a while.
Up first is the Mustang Mk.III, which was the British designation for the P-51B/C.
Surface detail on major airframe parts such as the fuselage halves is best described as petite and restrained. Incredibly fine recessed lines and rivets outline panels and fairings. There are even a few raised fasteners under the wings. Both the upper and lower wing halves are full span. Also full span are the horizontal stabilizers, topped by the vertical tail. The separate flaps are posed drooped.
In addition to detail molded inside the fuselage halves, the cockpit comprises a floor, instrument panel, and shroud, fuel tank, seat back, oxygen hose, seat, and controls. The Mustang's distinctive radiator duct has a top, bottom, and the radiator. The outlets are separate, and the mouth is a single piece, as is the chin carburetor intake.
To complement the framing molded inside the upper wing, the main gear bay includes a section of the main spar and a front bracket to which the actuators for the main wheel doors attach. Nicely molded gear legs attached to wheels with diamond patterned tread.
Optional shrouded and unshrouded exhausts are provided. The 2-part spinner sandwiches a cuffed 4-bladed prop.
Underwing stores for the pylons include 250-pound bombs and 75-gallon and 108-gallon drop tanks.
The sharp clear parts include both framed and blown, or Malcolm, canopies with optional parts to pose them open. Lights and the gun sight are also included.
The decals include stencils, cockpit placards, and seat belts, as well as markings for 2 Royal Air Force Mustangs.
The other kit we received from Arma is a 1/72nd scale F4F4 Wildcat.
We looked at the expert version of this kit a few episodes back, and this one is the same, but without the photo etch metal parts.
The other difference is the decals. This kit has markings for just 2 Wildcats, one from VMF 111, the other from VF 11.
These look great in the box, and we've had earlier versions of both of these aircraft built. The reviews were overwhelmingly positive.
They were.
Absolutely.
Finally, here's Academy's 1/144 scale Chinook CH-47.
The sharp-looking plastic in this kit was first released by Revell Germany in 2000. It allows for one of 4 versions of the CH-47 to be built: the D, F, J, and HC Mark I.
Surface detail includes recessed panel lines. Optional belly plates account for the differences between the variants, mostly in the antenna layouts. The hatch can be shown closed or open to deploy the hook. Other optional parts include the leading edge of the rear rotor pylon and antenna mounts, and rescue sling winch.
Inside, there's a floor with molded tie-downs for the cargo area, which can be seen through the movable rear ramp, and a cockpit with bulkhead, seats and controls, and instrument panel.
The rotor blades attach between the rotor head fairings and the mechanisms. The turboshaft engines have separate screens, and the petite landing gear features finely molded wheels.
Each of the cabin windows is separate, and the large clear nose covers the windshield, cheek windows, and sides.
Decals provide markings for 6 aircraft from 4 nations: an American Army CH-47F, a CH-47D from the Korean Army, a pair of Royal Air Force HC Mark Is in Beirut in the early 1980s, and 2 Japanese CH-47Js.
The plastic in this kit looks great, and the model would be perfect as part of a small-scale diorama.
Look for reviews of the Sangamon, the Chinook, and the Challenger coming soon on FineScale.com.
And while you're there checking out all of the great galleries and how-to stories and reviews that we have, Head on over to the combathobbystore.com to pick up references like these new titles from Schiffer's Legends of Warfare series.
We hope you've enjoyed our 200th episode. Thanks for watching. I'm Tim Kidwell.
I'm Aaron Skinner. Happy modeling.
Dang, we're like cruising through this.
Dude?
We need to start screwing up, Aaron. Otherwise, there's not going to be anything funny for the end of the...
We will screw up.
The Mustang.
The great in the back.
Deck.
Well, so this British main battle tank. Well, yeah, I mean,
That was not smooth. That was not smooth at all.
no. Bitter pat.
Let's get at it. They enjoy building mods. I hear from modelers all the time that they enjoy building models.
Now I've got everybody laughing.